Being a single mom and doing it all by yourself is brutal. Learn the brain and energy tools to get back to your center and overcome your challenges. To Single and Doing It All show. And today in this episode, we're going to talk about, are you loving your kids with no agenda, or are you not? And if you may not even be sure about your situation, but that's what we're going to clarify. And we will also I'll share some practices and pinpoint some things that you need to be careful about if you want to be able to love them with no agenda. If you are a replay viewer here on Facebook, where we record the show live, welcome. Don't hesitate to still put a comment, because I always come back and reply. And if you want to be notified when I go live, you can comment here on Facebook with the word notify, and you will receive a little message before I go live, a few minutes before I go live. If this is the first time that you are listening to the show, I am super happy to have you here. My name is Muriel Felous, and I am your French life coach. Before we talk about what we're going to talk about tonight, let's talk about the weather in Vegas, okay? Because I've never seen that anywhere. I've been in Vegas for about probably 14 years, above, a little bit more than 14 years. And I'm sorry, I had an echo. And I've never seen that much snow. I went around yesterday night to drive. It was so much fun. It was beautiful. We had snow on the side. Luckily, the snow didn't stick to the road, because I don't like driving in snow, even though I come from France. And I've done that a long time ago. I don't like doing that. That's why one of the reasons why I moved to Vegas. And the snows was sticking on the trees, several inches of snow, 2 to 3 inches, I think. And it was dripping from the trees. It was so strange to see palm trees under the snow. You have to see that. And I put a video on my personal page. I put, I think, a photo here on my business page. It was gorgeous. And still tomorrow, there is no school for the kids. They declared as weather condition there. I forgot how it's called, but there is no school. So how awesome is that? It's fabulous. Let's go and let's dive into the meat of our subject today. If you like what I say, by the way, or if you want to say hi, just push those thumbs ups and those hearts, or send me a comment and say hi. I would love to know that you're here, and share. How is the weather where you live? Where do you live, and how is the weather? I know we don't have anything to compete with states that are on the East Coast, of course. That's why I'm not living there. I couldn't. But still. So let us know. And maybe you live in Hawaii, and maybe it's a gorgeous weather, or on the other side of the planet in Australia, and it's not even winter. Anyway, I'm glad you're here, and let's talk about loving those kids. As a single mom, it's hectic. It's crazy. I always say it's brutal, even, because if you do everything by yourself, you have to be on all fronts at one time, always. And some of your needs may not be met. And sometimes you are so taken into the actions and the moves and the motion of being a single mom that you don't even stop to ask yourself about the way that you're doing it. Or what happens with some moms that I see is that I think my cat is stuck in the closet again. He loves being present and making noise on this show. What I see with a lot of moms is that they know they don't do things the way they would like, but they don't know exactly what they do wrong and they feel guilty all day long. And that's a horrible position if you're in that position. You know you would like to be better. You maybe sometimes catch yourself doing things that you don't like yourself doing, and that makes you feel bad about the way you're mothering. That makes you feel like a bad mom. I know I've been there in the past. And as far as being able to love our kids with no agenda, there are certain things that you need to be practicing and doing in your life if you want that to happen. End of the story. For example, let me give you an example from my own life. And that's a healing that I'm so glad I was able to achieve, although sometimes when we may never be completely healed, because we're talking here about subconscious patterns, subconscious behaviors, subconscious beliefs. Sometimes we have to revisit that in layers, and that's very often the case. So let me give you an example. In my family growing up, if you didn't listen to your parents, it was perceived and interpreted as not loving them, disrespecting them. Disrespecting them was really perceived as not loving your parents. So if you didn't obey or you didn't do what you were supposed to do, you were put in trouble. And that was painful. When my kids were younger, I caught myself acting the same way. One day, I realized that when my kids didn't do what I asked them to do, I got mad. I got so mad. It was really not proportionate to, I'm going to send a message to someone to open the door to my cat because I don't want to stand up here. So I used to get super mad, to go back to where I was. Let's say they just broke the rules, or they were not behaving the way I wanted. I was overreacting. I got to a point where I asked myself, why am I reacting so strongly to a thing that is not even that big? And I realized that I was behaving like my father used to behave. And my father used to really feel unloved if things didn't go the way that he wanted them go to. He wanted us to act, and he was really severe about that. And as I observed myself, because one of the must practices that you need to really cultivate is to become your own observer. And not only in the way that you're mothering, not only in the way that you're trying to be the best mom, but in everything in your life. Because the only way you can change is, one, by noticing what's going on. Of course, that's a given, and you know that. But two, by not judging what's going on. Because guess what? Let's say that you're doing something that you don't like with your kids. You notice it. And if you start judging yourself right and left for doing that thing, it's painful. And the brain is always running away from pain before it will go to pleasure. The first thing that the brain is trying to do is to run away from pain or to keep you alive. And if something is perceived or associated with pain, you're going to stop doing it. So your awareness is going to be blocked. That means you won't be able to really observe yourself. You won't be able to really notice what needs to be healed, what is rising up to the surface to be healed. Because all those patterns, all those beliefs and behaviors that we have in our subconscious come from somewhere when we were young. We have learned them from the grown-ups around us, who learned them from the grown-ups around them when they were young. So it's not about blaming them at all or blaming yourself, not at all. It is about noticing and acting to heal what needs to be healed so you can live happier, more at peace, with more joy, loving yourself better. And when you love yourself more, you feel more deserving and you receive more. Life is giving you more. That's really, really the way it works. So if you're doing something that you don't like, become the neutral observer. Become your own ally. And if we're talking about parenting, the first person you need to parent with love is yourself. Would you, if your kid was doing something that you didn't like, be beating them up with your words, bully them, blaming them all day long, and be so mean to them? Probably not. So the first child that you need to parent is your own inner child. So please, no blame and no guilt. Just notice. Because first of all, it's the first time maybe that you're noticing it. So you cannot be guilty of something you didn't know. Now that you have the awareness of it, it is your responsibility to do whatever is in your power to change, especially if it is about imposing a burden on your kids that shouldn't be theirs. In my case, in my past, the fact that I felt unloved when my kids didn't follow the rules in my house or when they didn't behave in a certain way, it was my problem. It was my own interpretation that was wrong. It was my own parameters and unconscious beliefs that had to change, not theirs. It wasn't their responsibility. But life is beautiful this way because we come into each other's life to teach each other. And your kids are your teachers. They are your spiritual teachers. And they're here to mirror stuff to you. So pay attention to how they react. What really put me in the direction of my healing was to notice the facial expression of my kids, a facial expression of confusion, of disappointment, of hurt, because they never intended to make me feel unloved. That was my own baggage. So they did not understand why I was maybe raising my voice too high or overreacting. When I noticed that the first time, I said, oh my God, of course, I wasn't as self-loving as I am today. And my kids were way younger. Although I started coaching women a very long time ago, I really, really went seriously into doing self-work and coaching professionally and really applying everything I taught back into 2011. So that was prior to that. And I was a single mom. I had divorced. All the burdens were on me, the financial, the taking care of the kids, everything. So I was highly stressed. And I didn't know how to meet my needs consciously, so I wouldn't impose them on my kids. So when I noticed that, I was horrified. My first reaction, to tell you, to be fully transparent, it wasn't a neutral observation. It wasn't a spiritual aha moment. It was like, you're a horrible mother. And then after I passed that initial reaction, I sat down and I said, okay, I never was aware of that, so I'm not guilty. But now that I know it, I need to change that. And the only way that guilt would serve me, because there is a certain amount of guilt that is at our service in that case, to make you feel what you have to shift, to make you want to never do that again and do whatever is in your power to never do that again. That guilt is useful. So I said, okay, this guilt served its purpose, like any emotion. Now, what can I do? And then I started to really develop a self-love practice. So I would never wait for my kids to meet that need from the outside. Of course, as you know, no perfection. Some days are better than others. We're all human. And us, the teachers, the coaches, the healers, we also fall off the wagon sometimes. But the truth is that when you start cultivating your practices, you bounce so much faster. So, what is something that maybe you don't like that you're imposing on your kids? Start noticing and let go of the blame. Until now, you didn't know. Now you're noticing, and you're going to do anything you can to change that. And I'm going to give you some tools. Sorry. Oh, as you may have noticed, I was absent from my podcast for the past 10 days. I was in bed with a flu for over 5 days. So I'm still recovering. Still not completely back to myself, but way better and so grateful to be back. The change that you want to achieve won't happen in one day. So don't start blaming yourself for that too, because it's gradual like anything. It didn't take you one day to learn your subconscious programs, and it will take a little bit of time before you change them. But it can be very rapid, in fact. If you work on it, it will take a little bit of time still. First, what you may notice is that so the first time you're gonna observe something that you don't like, you will observe it after fact. You will have that yucky feeling in your stomach, maybe because you did something, and then you go into the seat of the observer. Close your eyes and try to see what's going on. By the way, I have an amazing process to be able to observe your emotions. It's called emotion intervention. And that's a process that I love gifting to people so that we don't obsess on a thought and we can fully get the benefit of an obsessive thought and of a negative emotion, because you can detach and start seeing the message behind it. So the first time you will notice it after fact, maybe the first few times. And then what is miraculous, because the universe is always on our side, our true self, our beautiful true self, the one that is infinite and infinitely wise and loving, will help you. It's a question of connecting with it and cultivating a relationship with that part of you. And then you will start noticing it as it happens. So you can stop it. And you're going to start feeling a little bit better because you were able to stop yourself on your track. And that's fabulous. That's the beginning of change. And soon enough, you will feel it boiling in you before you even behave in the way that you don't like, before you even express that habit that you inherited from probably one of your parents as a kid or a caregiver. And the thing after that is that the more you do it, the more you build some new neural pathways in your brain, some connections in your brain, and the less you're going to do that old thing. You're going to start reacting on an automatic autopilot with the new reaction that you want to have. So then it's fabulous, because first you're going to start feeling yourself reacting and say, no, I am dropping that. That's the old me. I don't want to react this way. And soon enough, that old behavior that you don't like won't even come to you. You won't react in this way. And as I said, you first need to be able to sit in the observer seat. Now, what do you need to do to reinforce that new neural pathways, that new habit, that new way of behaving with your kids in your daily life? You want to love your kids without imposing on them to meet your needs. Because what happens is that when you're a single mom, when you are with someone in your life or when you have a lot of friends, those friends or that special someone or your ex-boyfriend, husband was there in some way to witness your life. We all need to be witnessed. That's a human need. We all need to feel appreciated. We all need to feel significant. But that's not the job of your kids to do that for you. You're here to love them and raise them. And believe me, I don't know if you have teenagers. If you have teenagers, just send me some hearts because we all have compassion for each other. We're in the same basket. If you count on them to send you and show you the appreciation that you're so lacking for, and maybe I don't want to say lacking because it's a need and you don't have to lack it, but the compassion, the appreciation that you want, don't count on them. Especially at this age, they're so self-absorbed, and that's normal. That's a normal stage. They are dissociating themselves. They're making with you. They're making their own identity. It's not their job to appreciate you. So that appreciation that you're so needing to receive needs to be given to you by you. And you can also have some girlfriends to share your life because our pain and our happiness needs to be witnessed. It's a beautiful thing to share with a friend. But the first person that needs to appreciate you and witness you is yourself. So what kind of self-appreciation practices do you have in your life? I do mirror work, as you know, myself and with my clients, because when you look at your eyes in a mirror and you talk to yourself, it reaches deep, deep, deep inside to the little girl in you that needs that appreciation and that needs to feel important. And when you're giving that to yourself, you are no longer at the mercy, also, let's mention, of those guys that you may date, the players, the narcissists, all those predators and those energy vampires. You will start repelling them because you don't need them. You don't need to hear the way they talk. They know how to talk. They can talk for a living. And I'm not saying that some of them do it consciously, some of them don't. It's just the way they navigate life. That's what they've learned. And we all learn ways to navigate life. We'll talk about that another time. But you won't be at the mercy of any outside toxic relationship to receive your appreciation and to feel significant and to feel seen. We need to be seen. So start seeing yourself. Mirror work. If you want to appreciate yourself, you can give yourself gifts. You can dedicate some time for you. Yesterday night, I went to the gym and there was a party dance class, salsa. I went only for half an hour because it was very challenging. Have you ever done that, or are you doing dance? Let me know if you like dancing. I love dancing. Is it a way you gift yourself some kind of appreciation gift, a dance class? So I went to that class and I came back. I was floating on a cloud. It was so much fun. How do you appreciate yourself? You can go and put some beautiful accessories on you. That's all the fun of being a woman, is to accessorize. Find ways to appreciate yourself. Find ways to look at yourself in the mirror and say, use your name. Like I would say, Muriel, I am proud of you today because you did go to the gym and you didn't stay on your couch. Things like that. The other need that you will need to meet and not ask your kids to meet is, like I was saying, like a girlfriend would do or like a boyfriend would do. Sharing, you know how sometimes you need to vent or to tell about your day to someone. Although you need to have some kind of sharing in your family, and we do that at dinner in my house. Do you do dinner with your kids? Let me know. Or what special moments do you do? Do you make sure you spend with them on a regular basis? We do dinner, and lately, because they are teenagers and they love to lock, no, not lock, I don't like the lock doors, but to close those doors in their bedrooms, I knock when I come back from work. I recently started doing that. And I go and I eat a snack and I sit on their bed and they look at me, what are you doing here? And I'm like, nothing. Just want to spend time with you. You don't come in the living room anymore, so I'm coming in your room. And even though they're going to say that they don't like it, they secretly do. I see it on their face. They still need to know that we love them, that they are important to us. That's also our job, to meet that need for them. So, who do you have in your life to share maybe your frustrations and how things may not go your way, or your worries or your fears? Because sometimes you need to vent. And that's not the role of your kids. I recently traveled to Israel last winter, and I was the witness of a relationship of a mother where, because she was a single mom, she tend to impose on one of her kids the role of the other adult somehow. Somehow trying to get advice without really ask. But you know how sometimes we can see how it sounds, use the people around us as a sounding board and see their reaction. And really, I've seen that in families where the mom is alone, and especially with sons or even with daughters, with the kids who are usually the first ones and very responsible, where they put on them, and I've been guilty of that too, sometimes with my daughter, and I stop myself, of sharing stuff that is not their burden, shouldn't be their worries. So that's a way to love your kid with no agenda, without asking them to fill that role. Find someone with whom you can talk about that. And if really it's the worst case scenario, which it's hard for me to imagine, because nowadays I'm talking to you on Facebook and you can meet people on Facebook. I do Zoom coffees with people, Skype coffees with people. So you can connect with people that you resonate with. Find someone. And if really, really, really you're so shy, you can't find anyone, talk to Source, God, the universe. Write on your journal. As soon as you will let it out, either by voice or in writing, it will lose some of its hold on you and you will feel better. Please don't do that to your kids. Find another way. The last thing I wanted to say about not putting the responsibility on your kids to meet one of your needs is the need for fun. Of course, I do a ton of stuff with my kids for fun. I hike, we take car trips, we do stuff, we eat together. But you need fun, grown-up fun in your life. And if you say that you have no friends and your only social life is the life with your kids, that something is wrong. You need to go on meetup.com or some kind of website and find yourself a social life. It all depends on you. And really, now you know. So don't beat yourself up for what you've been doing in the past. Now you know, and your responsibility is to take care of your needs, to self-care, to self-love, because unless you do, you will not be able to love anyone with no agenda, not your friends, not your kids, not anyone. It is your responsibility to make sure you meet your needs. You don't impose that on people. And also, you can share, although you can share nice moments and experiences, you don't put your happiness on anybody. That's the worst thing to do. It's heavy, it creates tension and stress in the relationship. That's not a good idea. So tell me if it resonates. If it resonates, put some comments or send me some hearts. Let me know. Does it resonate with you? Does it help you gain more clarity about the way you love your kids and any other person that you love? And does it inspire you to want to give more to yourself and to meet your needs? Because it's not that hard to do, frankly. It's a little thing here and there. And you will feel so much better. As I said, if you want to take part in the live recording of the shows, join us. Join us here on Facebook at Your French Life Coach. This is the name of my page, and let's interact. Let's talk. You can send me some private messages. If you don't do Facebook and you still want to contact me, go and send me an email on my website at singleanddoingitall.com. I'm here to help you. I love connecting with you because we're all in the same boat. We're single moms, and it's not always easy, but it can be happy and it can be more peaceful and it can be a more fulfilling experience, not only a struggle. Until I see you again next week, have a wonderful week and start becoming your own neutral and loving observer, your own loving parent. Start self-parenting. You'll see your life will become so much more fun and so much easier. Have a wonderful week. I'll see you next time. Mwah!